Namaskar, friends. I'm Dr. Mosam Sinha. Imagine you wake up in the morning and you look outside the window and say, it's raining. But wait, how do you know that? Because you saw it? Yes, you saw it. What if the glass was reflecting something else? What if your eyes were deceiving you? What if someone told you that it was raining? Then you didn't see it. You heard it. Someone told you that. What if you remember that it usually rains at this time of year? Now you're using memory. What if you simply have a feeling that it's going to rain? That is your intuition. And what if you see dark clouds, feel humidity, and observe strong winds, and you conclude that it's probably going to rain? You are inferring here. One simple statement, it's going to rain, and suddenly we discover that there are different ways through which we arrive at what we call knowledge. And that is where our journey begins. Welcome to Theory of Knowledge. Friends, Theory of Knowledge asks one of the simplest and yet one of the deepest questions human beings can ask. How do we know what we know? How do we know what we know? We often say, I know this, I know that, but Theory of Knowledge gently asks, really? How do you know? And that one question can completely change the way we look at knowledge. Because sometimes what we call knowledge may actually be a belief. Sometimes it may be an assumption. Sometimes it may be an opinion. Sometimes it may be based on evidence. And sometimes we may be completely confident about something and still be wrong. So theory of knowledge is not simply about collecting information, collecting knowledge. It's about becoming more aware of the process through which knowledge is created, accepted, questioned, and justified. But why should we care? Friends, we make decisions every single day. And those decisions are made on the basis of what we know, what we believe. A student believes that a particular answer is correct. A teacher believes that a particular teaching strategy will work. A scientist develops a hypothesis. A doctor examines symptoms and evidence. A journalist evaluates information. A parent remembers an incident differently from a child. Two people witness the same event and give completely different accounts. Who's right? How we decide that? What counts as evidence? What makes a belief trustworthy? Can two different perspectives both contain truth? And perhaps the most important question, what should make us change our mind? These are not questions confined to some philosophy. They are questions of life, they are questions of education, they are questions of science, society, and these are questions which are important for making good decisions. Friends, to understand knowledge, we must first understand the different pathways through which human beings encounter and construct it. Knowledge should be taken as a destination. There are many roads leading towards it. One road is perception. We see, we hear, we touch, we taste, and we smell. But perception raises a very important question. Can our senses ever deceive us? Optical illusions immediately remind us that seeing something does not automatically guarantee that we have understood it correctly. So perception gives us information, but we still examine that information. Another road is memory. Our past experiences become part of what we know, but memory is not a perfect recording device, is it? Two people can remember the same event differently. So we must ask, is remembering something the same as knowing it happened exactly that way? Then comes imagination. At first, imagination may appear to be the opposite of knowledge, but think again. Before an invention exists, someone imagines it. Before a scientist does work on some theory, it is tested and someone imagines its possibility. Before a solution is discovered, someone imagines that the solution might exist. Imagination allows us to move beyond what is and explore what could be. And then there is intuition. That strange feeling of something tells me this is right. But why should we trust our intuition? Sometimes it may be based on our experience, pattern recognition. Sometimes it may be misleading. So, theory of knowledge does not simply ask whether intuition is right or wrong. It asks when can intuition be trusted and when should it be questioned. This is the intellectual attitude of theory of knowledge. Don't blind accept. Don't blindly reject. Don't blindly accept. Don't blindly reject. Investigate. Our exploration becomes even richer when we encounter the classical Indian approaches to knowledge. Here, we encounter concepts such as Prataksha, Anuman, Anuplabdhi, Arthapatti. These are not merely Sanskrit terms to memorize for an examination. They represent different ways of asking. On what basis can we say that we know something? Prataksha is about experiencing something directly. I see the flower, I hear the sound, I touch the object, I directly experience something. But theory of knowledge immediately asks, is direct experience always sufficient? Then comes Anuman. What can I reasonably infer? You see smoke rising from behind a building. You can't see the fire, but you infer that there may be fire. That's why smoke is there. You have moved from what is observed and what is inferred. This is the power of reasoning, but reasoning also demands an important question. Is the inference justified? Then we have Anuplabdhi. What can absence tell me? Imagine you enter an empty classroom. You are expected to see your teacher there, but the teacher is not there. Can you simply say, I didn't see the teacher? Or can you conclude the teacher is absent? Under what conditions can non perception become meaningful knowledge? This takes us into the fascinating world of absence, evidence, and justification. Then we have Arthapatti. What explanation makes the facts make sense? Imagine you know that a person doesn't eat during the day, yet the person is gaining weight. Something seems incomplete. The available facts don't fully explain the situation. So you search for a necessary explanation that can make those facts coherent. And this is where Arthapatti becomes fascinating. It asks us to think beyond isolated facts and search for the explanation that makes the entire picture meaningful. And here lies the real purpose of this session, friends. We are not here to memorize four definitions. We are here to develop a habit of mind, a habit that makes us pause before saying, I know, and ask, how do I know? What is my evidence? What is my source? What assumptions I am making? Could I be mistaken? Is there another possible explanation? What would convince me otherwise? These questions transform a passive learner into a critical thinker. You have a very important role in this session. So when you enter this session, don't come only with the intention of finding the correct answer. Come with curiosity, come with questions, come with your experiences, come ready to challenge your own assumptions. And friends, most importantly, come ready to change your mind. Because changing your mind when better evidence appears is not weakness. It's actually intellectual growth. If an activity makes you confused, don't immediately try to escape the confusion. Explore it. If another participant gives you an answer differently from yours, don't immediately ask who is right. Ask what? Why does this person think this way? Try to know his or her way, and that is where genuine learning begins. What will you take away? By the end of this journey, you will not simply know what knowledge means, you will begin to understand how knowledge is constructed, how knowledge is justified, how knowledge is evaluated. You will be able to examine different ways of knowing and recognize their strength and limitations. You will be able to connect perception, memory, imagination, and intuition with real life knowledge situations. You will understand how Pratyaksha, Anumana, Anuplabdhi, and Arthapatti offer powerful ways of examining the basis of knowledge, and you will learn to distinguish between I believe it and I have information about it. And also, I have sufficient justification to call it knowledge. Perhaps most importantly, you will begin to examine your own thinking. Final thought before we begin this session. Every day, billions of pieces of information enter our minds. But education is not simply about putting more information into mind. Education is about developing the ability to ask, which information should I trust? Why should I trust it? What makes it knowledge? And how do I know that I know? So today, we are not simply going to study knowledge, we are going to investigate the journey of knowing from perception to interpretation, from experience to evidence, from belief to justification, from question to understanding, and ultimately from I know to how do I know I know. Welcome to Theory of Knowledge. Thank you very much for patient listening.